because everybody wants to get to the top, wants the next promotion, or wants the biggest bonus. So yeah, so there a lot of politics comes into play.
Would you say that's corporate in general or specifically financial services? Hi team, welcome back to another video and thank you so much for coming back. If it is your first time here, andiswa.mojapelo, and on this channel we chat about all things related to money and adulting in general. So if that's your type of conversation, please make sure that you check out our other videos as well. Today's another guest edition. I'm not alone, and we are talking all things career, specifically a career in the financial services industry. And joining me here today are two amazing ladies who happen to be my friends. And we are going to be talking about careers in the financial services industry. What are the downs? What are the up? What are the different options? What was their experience, etc., etc. So let me start by letting the ladies introduce themselves. You can go first.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Nancy. So I work at an asset manager. Basically, we manage people's money and I work as an analyst. So my day job basically involves looking at companies, analyzing them, and we value them, and then we come to a decision as to whether we buy or we sell the share.
Awesome.
Hi everybody. I'm Shirley. I'm in the stockbroking environment. I'm a trader and not the get quick rich type. So we trade local stocks, offshore stocks, and in derivatives.
Awesome. Guys, just a bit of context, right? One of the reasons I wanted to do this video is because I was inspired by a video on Imkita's channel. If you do watch her channel, and she was having a conversation around, careers in finances in general, particularly investment banking. And I was like, that looks cool. And the next time I'm in Cape Town, which I am in now, I'm going to sit with my girls and we're going to talk about all things related to careers in the financial services. So they've already introduced what they do within the financial services industry. I won't introduce what I do. I've mentioned it a couple of times on the channel. So if you're a regular, you know. If you don't know, watch the previous story times. You'll get to find out the details. Let's start with the fact that, did you guys know that you wanted to be in the financial services industry from get-go, or did it find you on the way? So I know that you can go out looking for a career or the career can find you there. Which one was it for you, Nancy?
Okay, so I would say I knew or I had the intention from varsity because that it informed what I studied.
Okay.
So I studied a BCom Finance undergrad, and then I did my honors in investment management at UJ. Yeah, so it informed what I studied. So yes, from varsity, but not from like when I was a kid. And then in terms of my role currently, I didn't know it existed. When I started studying, I didn't know it existed, but towards like the later years of my studies, I think like in third year or so, I knew that I enjoyed looking at companies. So I didn't know the title or in what type of business it would necessarily be in, but I knew that I enjoyed looking at companies and I knew that I wanted to make some sort of investment decision.
Okay.
Right?
So when you were in high school, because I don't know about you, but the only thing that I knew existed in this industry was becoming a chartered accountant. That's all I knew. So at that point, like when you were in grade 10, 11, what did you want to become?
Interestingly, I'm not sure, but in matric, when I was considering what to study, it was forensics.
Sure, okay.
Right? So trying to find out how like people died and stuff. Actually, I only considered finance after having a conversation with like my uncle, literally.
Okay.
Because I mean, just the thought of like wanting to find out how people die doesn't really sound good to like your parents or like your elders in some sort of way. So we're like, okay, cool. Have you considered other things like economics? And it was like, oh, okay, cool.
I'll consider that.
Yeah, but if you didn't say anything like that to me, maybe I would have studied something else.
Okay.
But yeah, it wasn't forced on me.
Okay.
So it was like, oh, never
came from a conversation. And you, how did this industry find you, or how did you find it?
I've always known I'm going to be somewhere in finance.
Okay.
Because I was good at like your economics, your accounting, all of those modules. My mom wanted me. My mom's dream was for me to be a chartered accountant.
Okay.
I think because of the paycheck and having a future that's set out. So I started with BCom. I started with my BCom reg back in the day. But yeah, that wasn't for me. And chartered accounting wasn't for me. So I was in banking a bit.
And if you watch this channel, you know it wasn't for me too.
So I was in banking a bit, and then the HR person, because I'm that type of person where I want to grow, I want to do things, I want to learn, I want to do something new.
You're a busybody.
Yeah, in a good way. So the HR person just like got tired of me and he referred me to a friend in stockbroking. So that's how I ended up in stockbroking.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Shows like what taking initiative and asking questions and being busy actually does. And then let's talk about that, right? I'm glad you stopped at getting into stockbroking. Can you remember what your last interview was for your current role and why you think that you stood out for that specific role? Because I'm sure many people applied, as they always do. Like, what do you think stood out about Shirley?
Okay, so I've been around.
In a good way.
Do you want to share how many years of experience you have?
Yeah, so in stockbroking alone, like 18 years of experience.
18 years.
Yes. So my current role and how I got the current job, that was because of my reputation.
Okay.
So I believe that if you're in the financial sector, you must keep your reputation as good as you can, and people. So if they say Nancy, they would know what Nancy's capable of. So that's how I got my current job. Okay. So it's because of people that knew my skill set and knew my training skills. Yeah.
It's so interesting you say that because I did an interview with someone who had been around in the financial services industry, and I actually asked him, like, how did you get so many opportunities? If you guys have watched that, the interview with Zach, so I was like, how did you get so many opportunities at Standard Bank and Netbank and all these different banks and in the financial services industry? And he actually said the same thing, and he said relationships and being known for what I do was actually what helped me get in. Okay, cool. And you, Nancy, can you remember your last interview?
Yeah, my last interview. Oh, and why I stood out. Or why I think I stood out. I think I was a fit for the company. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. And I think also having enough knowledge to be able to execute whatever it is that they require me to execute. I mean, logically, that's what they require. Know how to do the job. And I think also because there was an element of already being involved in it. So in other words, already being invested in certain stocks. Like if you're going to pick stocks for people, do you pick stocks for yourself already? So I think being involved in it already did. But apart from that, because you can find a lot of people who know how to do the job, are involved in it as well, have the knowledge, yeah. But I think fits is very important as well. So if they feel like you fit the culture and the people, then
and I think from my personal experience, what I'm going to add that I think was really beneficial for me, and having had the fortunate experience of being on the other side of interviews as well, is one thing I think a lot of people overlook, and that's being honest and authentic. I think we underplay how important it is to honestly be honest. Shirley has mentioned that she's been around, and I'm sure she's done a lot of interviews in her time. She's worked with a lot of people, and she's sort of learned how to tell, like, if you're being authentic or not, or if you know what you're talking about or not. And I'm really starting to appreciate how important it is to honestly be honest. If somebody asks you a question, no one knows everything, and nobody's 100% on everything. But I think you being honest about what it is that you can do and what you're currently finding challenges in it's a good find, and it's not something that's very common.
Yeah, I think that's very important.
Do you want to add something?
I wanted to say, so that was my last interview where I got the job.
Would you say that was also like a big...
No, I wanted to say, like, so my last interview was one where I didn't get the job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the technical experience, technical knowledge, like stood in my way. So it was in the bond space. So I've got the qualifications, but I don't have the experience.
Yeah.
And I slipped up a bit in the interview on the technical side. So also, like, be prepared. If you want to be in the financial industry, be prepared. Know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you don't have the experience, make sure you know if it's book knowledge, make sure you know your stuff.
Yeah, true.
Let's maybe talk about the challenges then, since you brought it up. What are some of the challenges that you've experienced from being in the industry or from your time in the industry?
Challenges in what sense?
Like, what is difficult about it? If it is, maybe it's easy. I'll go first,
Okay.
right? And it's something that Shirley touched on as well. So for me, one of the challenges that I've experienced in this industry is that it is highly regulated. It's not the type of space where you can just jump into positions because you sound great or you present yourself well. And I thought about it when Shirley said that now, like, you can't just decide tomorrow that, oh, I really like derivatives. I think derivatives are interesting.
Yeah.
Let me go and trade derivatives for clients and let me manage portfolios, or it's a very highly regulated industry. And what I've noticed in my other friends who are in other industries, they sort of like study a specific industry and then their knowledge just allows them to sort of like overlap in different areas, where with us you'd have to study something, be accredited, have a certain number of experience, and then be able to tap into that. So for me, that is one of the challenges I'd say in the financial service industry. You don't just like go into different areas as easily as maybe you would, or as short as that path would be in another industry. Have you experienced any challenges in the industry?
So for me, it's more on the corporate side. Yeah, so there is a lot of corporate politics or politics within corporate, and that sometimes get in the way of you just doing your job and excelling at your job. Because we all human, and so just be prepared for that part as well. Because everybody wants to get to the top, wants the next promotion, or wants the biggest bonus. So there a lot of politics comes into play.
Would you say that's corporate in general, or specifically financial services? Or do you think all corporates are probably the same?
I only have experience
in financial services.
Financial
Good point.
So I wouldn't know about other corporate environments, but I think in general, everybody probably wants the next promotion or wants the biggest paycheck. So it might be the same.
And have you thought of anything, or it's just been smooth
sailing?
It's okay if it has been.
I think, challenges, I think I'd only say it speaks to knowledge as well. Like, knowledge is important. Like, when I was trying to get different jobs and stuff, I think whatever challenge or barrier I did face was like a lack of knowledge. Like, they'd ask you a question, and if you don't know it, then obviously they gauge like your extent of knowledge and stuff like that. So I think that would be a challenge in terms of like getting into certain roles and stuff like that.
So it sounds like your knowledge is constantly tested. So you don't just write the exam and then you're done, and then you get into the work, and then people trust because you have the exam or the qualification, you're going to know what you're talking about. Even in those interviews, they will test your technical knowledge over and over again. I know in Nancy's experience, I'm sharing now Nancy's experience. I found her experience when she was looking so interesting, because she had to do like case studies and presentations. And for me, that was different from way back when I was in the industry, So it is getting quite technical, but we'll get to what has changed. Have you guys ever considered anything else other than financial services?
So my passion is traveling. So the tourism industry would be a space where, so that's a space which I want to explore, and also like the entrepreneurial side of things. For me, it's by that you can do even while being in my industry, in finance or in stockbroking. I think with the entrepreneurial side and having your own business, it's like, I think for me that will probably be the ultimate high.
Your own baby.
Yeah, your own baby, and that being a success. So yes.
Okay. And your own that business idea, would it be something travel related?
Not necessarily. So also it will depends on whatever the need is or whatever my passion is at that point in time. Travel related, tourism or travel related, maybe not.
Okay. And you, like, have you ever considered other industries?
I've never considered other industries to like work, like as in a 9 to 5 type vibe. You know, interestingly.
You've considered no industry?
Well, like if I were to replace my job right now,
okay,
not like necessarily in terms of like my own baby that I want to build and stuff like that. But yeah, other things that I am interested in that I'm interested in, I guess, are the beauty industry. So I'd also want my own business within that industry, health, wellness, and beauty, essentially. And then I've also thought of music, because one of the things that I did think of studying, right, was music, right?
Oh wow, yeah, that's a big,
right?
Yeah,
it is. But the way I think about it now, I feel like it's stuff that I can still do anyways. Like nothing stopping me from getting a coach, for example, and just do it for fun, you know. So yeah, so there's some things that I consider, but not necessarily to make money out of, just for fun, you know.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like, if I were to, you know, build my own business, it would probably be like in health and wellness and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah.
I think for me, another industry, data analytics.
Sounds so serious.
It's fun. It's fun. I would definitely do data analytics. I'm just so fascinated by the amount of information that people are getting out there and what they are doing with it. It's literally insane. Like from social media to everything. And I think for me, it came from my YouTube channel. Like literally watching those analytics and being like, oh, so you guys watch videos at this time and not at that time. You stay longer at this time. And these type of people in these areas watch my videos. So if I were to do them like that, they'd be, and it works. And I think a lot of companies, like a lot of successful companies, are using those insights to actually drive their decisions, and it's working. So for me, it's a fun thing. I think that's definitely an industry that I would go into. But like you ladies, I'd love to own something of my own. I'm glad that's a common factor. But that actually sounds quite exciting. So another question that I wanted us to unpack is, I know some of us, it's not as long of a period as others, but from the very beginning to now, we'll literally go first because, yeah. From the very beginning to now, what are some of the things that you think have changed? Like have really changed if you think 18 years ago in the industry to now?
So there's been some technology, those advances. Okay, so back in the day when I started, you still had certificates, literally like certificates, and people these days hang it in their houses.
Share certificates.
Share certificates. Share
Wow.
certificates, yeah. And so processes has become quicker. New products has been developed, so that type of thing. So that's where improvements happened. But also on the flip side, things are sort of almost all the same. So stockbroking is a very male-dominated environment, and also it used to be a very white environment. But and currently I don't see those ratios having changed that much. So it's still a very male-dominant environment, as well as a very white environment. Yeah.
So that part hasn't changed.
That part hasn't changed. It has changed a little bit, but yeah. But there's still room for a lot of improvement
in that area. Okay, cool. I think talking about why is a whole nother topic for another day.
Yes.
So let's not go there. What do you think has changed?
Yeah, so that's also what I wanted to talk on. But I actually just want to ask, what do you think about that in terms of the asset management industry? Do you think you've seen like any change or not?
I think in the asset management space, there's a lot of smaller, non-white, not to bring color into, but non-white companies. Yeah. So yes. So that has.
You feel like that space has improved
a little bit more maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I can probably speak on. I think that's something that is changing. I think probably not to the satisfaction of like many people, but there is a push for it. You know, like you'll see, for example, certain businesses will only allocate X amount of funds to transformed businesses. You know, and I think that's really good. I think it's good.
Yeah.
For transformation. You know, there are people or companies where they'll just put certain faces there just for the sake of it, so they won't have like any influence, right? which obviously is not good. But I think it's something that we can work on, and yeah, hopefully we'll continue to see it changing.
Yeah. And on that, do you guys think that one of the reasons why it's still dominated by a specific race is because from a client-based perspective, we are also not as active as well? And if we were to be more active as clients and as the actual customers, then that would improve things, so to speak. Do you think that would help, or do you think
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends to what degree. Like, for example, like some companies don't need funds, if I should put it that way. They don't need to go and pitch for X amount of funds because maybe they're okay or their client base is fine for them, right? Other companies will because they're trying to grow maybe, and because you know what, that company has X amount of funds and we need to transform. Other companies genuinely are about transformation, you know. So I think it depends. I think to an extent it will probably depend on to what extent a company requires that fund, you know, or those funds in order to grow or reach whatever goals they have. Because you do find companies that really are not about transformation in any way,
and they don't have to,
yeah. And not that they they wouldn't employ, let's say, a black person or that, right?
But that's not the agenda that they are pushing.
Yes,
that's not on the scorecard.
Yes,
it's not what you're here for.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I get you. And then, like, what type of advice would you, knowing all of this that we've discussed, the challenges, what it took to get in, the experience, what has not changed, what has changed, what advice would you give to someone who is either in another industry looking to get in, or a grad who's looking to start their journey in the financial services?
Yes, Nancy can go.
Okay, I think definitely get involved in whatever it is that you want to get into. So if you want to get into asset management, right, get a portfolio, you know, start your own portfolio, buy your stocks, you know, you don't need to have a lot of money. There's like easy equities, you know, physically show that you are interested in that, because that's actually a big thing in asset management. They actually, like, you will see a lot of this, I'd say in like the job description or something, like passionate about it or like genuinely interested in it, you know. So show that. Get a portfolio. Actually, practically get a portfolio. I think,
wow.
Yeah, get your own portfolio.
So start practically applying what it is that you would like to
get into
and learn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And definitely study, get the knowledge that you need. A BCom is good. You do find people that move from like engineering or medicine into you know, the financial space. I guess it's all about, you know, understanding the numbers and understanding, depending on what space you're in, understanding, I guess, the economics of it, you know. But it's not the end of the world if you didn't study finance. Obviously, if you study something financial, it's easier. But yeah.
I'll go next. I think if I were to advise a younger me, in hindsight, I'll speak from what I wish I had done more of, or what I would have done a bit differently. In hindsight, is like try to. It actually speaks to what Nancy said. Like, find a focus area, and be great at that focus area. You know, so if stockbroking is your thing, find out everything that has to do about that stockbroking and kill it on all levels and become a specialist in that. I know that sometimes that you're not sure and you want to dabble in a bit of this, you want to try that, but I feel like if I knew what I really want to do earlier, I would have just started there. I wouldn't have done that at that place and that at that place to try and I feel like I would be further if I had just started, like,
From my side, get the qualifications, talk to people like the LinkedIn apps, see with whom you can connect to build relationships, read up about stuff, post on LinkedIn, so people can see, like Nancy said, that you've got a genuine interest in that specific field.
What's next for you guys in terms of what you want to do moving forward?
Like I said, I'm a forever student. So I've actually started with my stockbroking exam this year. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it to you.
You have.
Okay.
Of course you have.
But yeah, so I've started with that. So yeah, hopefully within the next 2 years or so, then I would be registered stockbroker within South Africa. Um, and there are only a few, once again, there are only a few female ones as well. So for me, yeah, that's quite a challenge. That's been on my bucket list, and I finally started. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. For someone who's wondering what on earth is a stockbroker, can you summarize it like quickly for us?
So within the financial sector, there's different fields, like Nancy's in assets management, I'm in stockbroking. So for a company, for a stockbroking company, all stockbroking companies need a stockbroker. So you can't have a stockbroking company without a stockbroker.
Okay.
So that's the person that have overall knowledge of the rules and legislation, about portfolio management, about running the business. So yeah, so that is
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you get to keep everyone in check because you've got knowledge on what each department should be doing if they're doing the right thing.
And also you are, because you, how do I put this now? Because you registered is the wrong word, but I can't think of the correct word now. Because you're registered with the JSE, you also have the responsibility to make sure that the financial system or the stockbroking environment in South Africa is operating in the way it should.
It's almost like how when you're a CFP or CFA, you're bound by certain ethics and an ethical conduct, and you can't, like, because it's your name and reputation on the line. Okay, cool, makes sense.
And not just yours, but like the entity itself. So like the JSE or like the financial markets, because you are representative of that market. So I usually say I don't work for a company, I work for the exchange, because I can walk away from any company and work at another company as long as I abide by the rules of our local exchange with whom I'm registered. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, you say that a lot. Oh, you used to back in the day. And you, what is next for you?
For me right now, basically I'm at a place of just absorbing everything there is to absorb. So basically, I just started a new job, so just absorbing and taking it all in and doing my best, really.
Literally this year, and we're only halfway through the year, so she literally just started sharing, and I'm already asking her what's next.
So that's literally the place that I'm in, and it's nice to be in that place, actually, so.
And you're enjoying it as well, which is really great. So for me, in terms of what's next, I think I would like to, and I'm in a space where I'm moving, or I want to move less away from the operational and more into the strategy, thinking, building phase, influencing type of thing. So I think I've gotten in places where I really know how to do certain things well. But the new exciting thing that I've now discovered is getting things to work on their own, and inspiring other people to do things. I feel like not enough credit is given to that role. It's one thing waking up every day and being able to do this and doing it great for yourself, but like enabling other people and other systems to do it as well is like a whole different ball game. So I'm excited about that part of my life in terms of my career. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me. It was a really good conversation. I picked up a thing or two that I didn't know as well from you guys, which is really nice. And thank you to you for joining us for this conversation. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Shirley, and thank you, Nancy. We will see you in the next video, guys. Bye.
Cheers.